Private servers. Some of you out there might be wondering, what in the heck is a private server? Well, in the MMO world, it's usually a community-run instance of an existing or shut down MMO. And to that, you might be wondering, what's the point? Why run a private server? That's a good question, Billy, and here's 3 reasons that private servers exist. Number 1, the game is shut down and is no longer available. Therefore, a private server keeps it alive and accessible for the whole community. Number 2, the devs have abandoned the game. In this scenario, the community runs its own private server where they keep up to date with maintenance and bugs. And the 3rd reason is to revert back to an older and better time. This is usually done for nostalgic reasons or to revert back to a time before the devs introduced a game-breaking bug. And I already know what your next question is going to be.
Was all this legal? Absolutely f***ing not.
Well, maybe. There's a lot of legal loopholes around abandonware and fair use, but there's also issues involving licensing and copyright. A lot of it comes down to who owns the IP and whether they care enough to actually try and shut down these private servers. But listen, I'm just here to tell you about some of the private servers you should check out, and I've kindly put them in a top 10 list. Unfortunately, I haven't played on every single private MMO server to ever exist, but I'll do my best to cover off ones I have tried and ones I've had really good feedback on. And whilst I have your attention, if you do like niche MMOs and video essays about games that are no longer relevant, then you might also enjoy my washed up YouTube channel where I can't even hit 50k subs. I'm just so irrelevant right now. Please like and subscribe. So with the intro out the way, let's begin with number 10 on our top 10 private MMO list. World of Warcraft is a game that is far from dead, but despite that, the devs on many occasions have upset the community.
Have you ever thought about adding servers for previous expansions as they were then?
No. And by the way, you don't want to do that either.
One eternity later.
And with a development team this competent and in touch with the community, it's no wonder people went out and made their own private servers. 2 of the most notably popular ones are Project Ascension and Turtle WoW. Ascension is a classless game that allows you to imagine and build the character of your dreams. Your custom character has any ability or talent within their reach. Imagine your hero and achieve glory. So essentially a revamped classic WoW with no classes. Whereas Turtle WoW goes back to a simpler time, a better time some might say. To quote the site, this expansion aims to take a different path from the Burning Crusade, emphasizing the familiar Azeroth of vanilla WoW over the cosmic battle with the Burning Legion. I have no idea what that means, hopefully it means something to you. But more importantly, Turtle WoW is aiming to be on a UE5 engine in the near future, which in itself would be a great achievement and certainly one that Blizzard might notice, so it's hard to say if it will be a good thing for the server or not. I just feel like there might be a lawsuit coming if they pull this off. Either way, if you are bored of WoW and you want to mix it up a little bit, I strongly suggest these 2 servers. Next on the list is Final Fantasy XI, which is so old that it was originally published by Squaresoft. Shout out to all my boomers who still say Squaresoft because you're too old to change. Final Fantasy XI has been rumoured to be in maintenance mode for the last couple of years now, and it is looking more and more official. It's so old that even if you install it on Steam, it's still a ball ache to set up, and furthermore, it still costs $10 a month to play Final Fantasy XI, even though it's practically been abandoned. It's no wonder that private servers have been popping up for this title. In particular, one that's been suggested to me multiple times is the Horizon server, which has a level cap of 75 and aims to rebalance the game and make it just as enjoyable as it was in its heyday. Oh, and most importantly, it's free to play. From what I understand as well, it's more populated than the official server and a lot more sociable. And if you do want to check out any of the private servers mentioned in today's video, I'll have an article on my website which I'll link in the description below. Despite Western servers closing down back in 2011, it seems like my community keeps suggesting that I go play Lineage 2. And that's still possible thanks to private servers. Which is all well and great, but there is over 100 private servers to choose from. all varying with different rule sets, and some even trying to change the original game engine to UE4 or even Unity. Fun fact, NCSoft, the original publishers of Lineage 2, have been known to work with the FBI to close down some private servers. But I mean, surely by the logic of there being so many servers that are popping up and NCSoft trying to stop them, it's got to be good, right? So just by sheer quantity of private servers, I'm putting Lineage 2 in 8th place. Let me know in the comments below if there's a particular Lineage 2 server I should check out. Despite being the oldest MMO still going, I reckon EverQuest still has a good few years in it. However, that hasn't stopped people from setting up their own private servers. Picture this, you've been playing EverQuest for the last 20 years, how would you like to play it? Maybe change the rules up, or maybe bring it back to its original vanilla build. That's right, people have set up private servers so they can play EverQuest in its purest form. That being the original 1999 release. Yeah, baby.
Future's now, old man.
The sad thing is, some of my viewers weren't even born back then. But for some reason, people like the idea of playing a game in its most retro form. Imagine looking at Unreal Engine 5 and being like, no, how about just Unreal? Another popular EverQuest server is the Hero's Journey. The rule set for this server is that you don't have to be restricted to one class, you can choose up to 3. By allowing players to do this, it actually makes the game more solo friendly, and if there's one thing MMO enjoyers really like, it's playing solo, which makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Oh look, another MMO owned by EA. I can't think why there'd be private servers for Ultima Online when it has such prestigious owners. Technically, the official game is free, but it does have basically a pay-to-win subscription, and as you can imagine, the private servers have zero pay-to-win. There is one particular private server which has been mentioned to me a couple of times, and that is of course Outlands. Ultima Outlands has been going strong for 7 years now and is highly recommended by multiple players. Ultima Online is a very unforgiving title and is not for the faint-hearted, which is why it's important to be on top of bug fixes and making sure the game is fully balanced, which is what Outlands does best. So to clarify, the private server is free, it balances the game, and has a bigger population than the official server, and mainly it's not owned by EA. I really don't think it gets any better than that. Which is why if you get this video to 2,069 likes, I promise to do a 100-hour playthrough of Ultima Online. Yes, I'm that batshit crazy. Look, I'm not picking on EA here, they just seem to have a pattern of buying old MMOs and just letting them rot. Which is a shame because Dark Age of Camelot in its heyday was one of the most PvP-centric MMOs going. And when I played on the official servers last year, I couldn't even find any PvP. And that's where the Eden server comes in. Trust me, I've had numerous recommendations after people saw me playing official, and everyone's saying I need to jump on Eden and give it a go. They even had a graph on their website showing a peak of 1,500 players, which is almost as many as New World. Eden server also comes with new content, 3 new classes, and seasonal servers. And as I said, given the amount of people who have suggested I go play on the Eden server, I think it's going to be a hard one for me to avoid this year. So rest assured guys, message received, I will play the Eden server this year and do a video. Dragon's Dogma Online was Capcom's first attempt at a MMO, which sadly never made it to the Western market and closed down 4 years after its initial release. Essentially, it was the original Dragon's Dogma, but online with friends in a shared world. It allowed 4 players to group in overland, had an active player hub with trading and guilds, zone chat, and furthermore, 8-man raids. And thanks to some dedicated fans, you can still play this title today through private servers. I had a lot of fun playing this title last year, and I even made a video on it, shameless plug, but the one thing it is lacking is just a player base. It's such a small title that it really could do with a bigger community. Although it lacks in player population, it makes up for in its wholesome community. I don't think it matters if you have 10 players playing this game or 1,000, it still has that refreshing social element to it, where players actually work together rather than just being solo in a shared world. If you want to see a game combine the best parts of an RPG with the best parts of an MMO, then I strongly suggest you check out this title. Probably one of the most inspirational stories involving private servers is the City of Heroes Homecoming server. NCSoft closed down City of Heroes back in 2012, but luckily the source code was leaked by one of the devs before it completely vanished. The Homecoming server was one of the first to keep the game alive via private servers not too long after the closure, and did so in secret. For several years, only those who had been trusted with access were able to play on the server. It'll be a few more years before the Homecoming server went public, and the reason it stayed secret for so long was to basically avoid legal ramifications. However, in the background, it was seeking a license agreement with NCSoft, and eventually, what people assumed was impossible, NCSoft granted them that right. They were now an officially licensed City of Heroes server, which is the first time a private server has officially resurrected a dead MMO. There are, of course, other City of Heroes servers with similar setups, but this is the only officially licensed one. So the good news is, it's not likely to get closed down anytime soon. This is probably the first time ever that NCSoft has endorsed a free-to-play server with no pay-to-win. I feel like this is some ploy in a bigger evil plan. In number 2, we have Warhammer Online, Age of Reckoning. There'll be people in the comments disagreeing and saying this should be number 1, and I can certainly see why. This is once again another EA blunder. Warhammer was closed down back in 2013, and as you can imagine, the community were up in arms about it.
You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
Luckily though, one of the fans were tech savvy enough to set this up on a private server, which means we can all still enjoy this title today. This free-to-play MMO has been running for over 10 years now with no issues. Age of Reckoning was popular for its perfect blend of PvE and PvP content, and of course players are a huge fan of the Warhammer IP. The game has regular seasonal events, balancing and bug fixes, and the population can vary from time to time. Either way though, it's amazing to think that this voluntary project is doing better than some AAA studios. It goes without saying that what these guys have achieved with this server is nothing but outstanding, and it was very close between this and what's number 1, but either way, check this game out, it's definitely worth your time. Before we look at number 1, just a special shout out to some of the following private MMOs. These ones aren't necessarily the most popular, and some of them aren't even finished, but it's worth mentioning because honestly, they could do with more support for their project. The first special mention is of course WildStar. Some dedicated fans have made a private server for WildStar, which allows you to play the first couple of basic tutorial missions, but after that, there isn't any more questing. You can, however, explore the open world, and you can even do player housing. I think we've got some time before it's the fully finished project. I'm more excited for the completion of the WildStar private server than I am some upcoming MMOs. The Matrix Online private server has been ongoing for quite some time now, but unfortunately it's still just a shadow of the game that it once was. You have all the ability to go and explore, but unfortunately there is zero questing and zero combat. It plays out more like some strange VR chat room than it does a MMO. It is a fun one to check out. There was a point where Disney kept releasing MMOs, and one in particular was Pirates of the Caribbean Online. Some dedicated fans have brought this title back to life in its full glory, and I mean it is literally the whole game. The only thing it doesn't have is a huge population, but what it lacks in size it makes up for in a wholesome community. And last honourable mention goes to Asherons Call. It was one of the first MMO RPGs to ever release, and sadly it closed down quite some time ago. But if you want some 1999 jank in your life, I strongly advise to go check this out. Personally, I tried it myself and I just struggled with the controls. But that's enough yapping from me. Let's take a look at the number 1 private server you should check out in 2025. There might be a possibility that I'm being slightly biased because I am a massive Star Wars fan, but you know what? This is my video and I'm putting Star Wars Galaxies at number 1. I wasn't around to play Star Wars Galaxies when it first came out, and I wasn't around when it closed down, which is why I'm thankful that private servers even exist, because I would have missed this opportunity. When you look at the history of Star Wars Galaxies, it feels kind of criminal that they closed this down and then replaced it with Star Wars The Old Republic. It doesn't seem like a fair one-for-one trade. Although Star Wars The Old Republic is looked upon quite fondly by a lot of fans, I think by far Star Wars Galaxies was the more popular title and the stronger title at that. Bad management caused this once great MMO to close down, and thanks to a dedicated fan base, there are several private servers that you can play on today and experience the nostalgia that is Star Wars Galaxies. Not only that, some of these servers have been adding their own content as well as rule sets to give even the most veteran player a refreshing playthrough. A lot of the original systems that were in Galaxies were influential to modern day MMOs, and even by today's standards, still does a better job than some existing MMOs. There are several private servers to choose from, with Legends and Restoration being the two most popular, each with their own unique rule sets, with each server trying to correct the errors that were put into play by the old devs. I personally have been enjoying playing Star Wars Galaxies and hope to have a full review sometime this year. For me, Star Wars Galaxies brought people the ultimate MMO experience. You don't have to be the main character. You can literally be a dancer in a cantina, you could be a space merchant going around selling goods, or you could just be a pilot. It's completely up to you as to how you played this sandbox MMO RPG. And to be brutally honest, you won't see a MMO RPG quite like this one ever again. I don't think we'll ever get another Star Wars MMO. I just think it's never going to happen at this point. Which makes me so thankful that people can still play Star Wars Galaxies to this day. In reality, it should be dead and it shouldn't be playable, but here we are, and that's why it's number one on my list. And on that bombshell, I'm going to end the video there. As always, if you have liked my content, then please leave a like on the video. As I said earlier, if you get this video to 2,069 likes, I'll do a 100-hour review of Ultima Online. And please subscribe so I don't feel so washed up. I am very close to 50k subs, but as you can see, I haven't quite reached it yet. And where would I be without shilling my own website? Honestly, I have some good guides on there and some information about private servers, and even some other creators have posted articles, so please give it a click. And a massive thank you to my Patreon and YouTube members. As a whole, YouTube has been very up and down for me this year, so to have people backing me and giving me support has really meant a lot to me, so thank you. Anyway, that's enough yapping from me. See you in the next one. Bye bye.